本节目由生动活泼制作播出。
嗨，大家好，我是丁教。在节目开始之前，我再来给大家安利一下我们到海外去第二季的节目。这档播客专门讲述中国公司出海的一手经验和对海外市场机会的观察。主播是专注于出海的风险投资机构大观资本北美负责人 Richard， 以及在世界各地都做过项目的世界银行分析师 Cici。 到海外去第二季的半价优惠截止到21号，之后会恢复到499的价格。付费平台有5个，大家可以根据自己的喜好来选择。好的，那就请大家收听今天的节目。
欢迎来到生动活泼传媒旗下硅谷早知道第4季。这个世界因科技创新而巨变，那就请和我们一起在最前线观察科技创新所带来的变化、影响和机遇。
欢迎收听我们今天的硅谷早知道。今天呢，又是一期英文的节目。这期节目是专访我的朋友 Benjamin Liu 和他的合伙人 Avi Sarma。他们两个是 GRIL Venture GRIL 的管理合伙人。他们是由11个家庭出资组成的，在全球范围内投资对社会有意义的公司。但是他们不把自己归为是 Impact 投资，也就是影响力投资的投资人。一般 Impact 投资可能会更多注重给社会造成的影响，但是他们觉得这个和基金的回报其实并不冲突。他们一共有3支基金，到现在为止投资了不少知名的项目，像是维京的 Hyperloop One， 伊隆马斯克弟弟 Kimball Musk 的有机透明蔬菜供应公司 Squareroots， 也有给巴西小农场主提供贷款的金融公司等等。好的，那么下面就请享用我们今天的节目。Let's start with you, Ben. When did you join GRIL?
I joined GRIL in 2018. Avi poached me from one of our companies, a portfolio companies that was trying to hire me at the time. My family invested in it, and Avi said, "Hey, don't go work for those guys. Come work with me and change the world." And that's sort of how our journey really began. It's been 2.5 years, and I get to work in things that I would have never invested in previously, like education tech, philanthropy tech, ag tech, and now even robotics, where you're taking consciousness out of your body and putting it in an avatar halfway around the world. So Avi, please introduce yourself.
I'm happy to. My background is I came out of the Wharton School undergrad program, and I started with a small team, a startup hedge fund out of school. It failed pretty spectacularly, so didn't really go anywhere, but it was a very interesting experience. I worked in consulting for a wastewater treatment project in South Africa. I did consulting work for a well-known entrepreneur in the food space who we ended up investing in one of his companies, who was putting learning gardens in schools around the United States. So I did some consulting for him. These are outdoor classrooms where kids can learn how to plant kind of vegetables, and they learn what a vegetable is, which is really inspiring work that they were doing. And then I moved to London, and I met our third partner, Colin Rushmere, in GRIL. And I kind of had this kind of meandering pathway in finance and in a little bit in social entrepreneurship and impact. And they were launching GRIL Ventures. So Colin had built up GRIL from South Africa, or he built a company in South Africa, and then he moved to the Isle of Man to launch a venture capital business. And I joined then as a managing partner. So since then we've kind of gone from strength to strength. We poached Ben, and we've applied our kind of mission to further dignity with our investments. That's been our story.
Where are you based right now?
I'm based in Washington, D.C.
You guys have portfolio all over the world. How many countries you guys are investing in?
Most of our investments are in the U.S. and in the U.K., but a lot of the companies are operating globally now. We made our first investments into Brazil and the Middle East. So those are 2. We've had some investments in Central America. We have quite a few companies actively operating in India, and companies expanding into Asia now. But it's mostly that our companies are based in the US and in Europe, where we can kind of really have a good feel for them. And then we help them as they expand, globally into different markets.
Since you guys invest in a lot of different continents, how do you verify the legitimacy of those companies that you are putting money in? In the Valley, we vet people through warm intros or references. How do you solve this problem when invest outside of Silicon Valley?
I'll take this one. Time. I would say time. For us, a lot of our investments, it came through our network. We pride ourselves on our network. With GRIL, we're about 11 families or 11 people, and it's all private capital. So at this time, we don't take AUM. We don't take a fee on the AUM. It's essentially us doing the diligence and the research to basically de-risk our follow-ons. So I think Avi has been in the trenches with a lot of our companies. It's going to war with each one of these entrepreneurs and making sure they're good people at the end of the day, that they'll fight with you. So outside of time and spending time, there's nothing else.
We feel like we stick with companies throughout the life cycle. And the biggest factor for us is the people. So our biggest mistakes have been in not backing the right people, because we look at areas like food and agriculture, making people healthy and well, including mental health, as we talked about earlier, financial inclusion, energy, transportation, and deep technology. So we're in quite a few different areas. And a lot of our companies are really trying to do something different and bring something completely new to the table. We actually pride ourselves in taking companies and people who are kind of unexpected and helping them get to market. But the journey is a very long one. So when you come in at the stage that we come in, you're sometimes on a journey for 5 years before the company really gets a stranglehold in sustainability in the market. So you go through quite a lot with people and you see them change over time. And we've had some experience where we've definitely been let down by people, but we've also seen people come through that are just completely unexpected, during tough situations and become incredible leaders and build sustainable, profitable, growing businesses, and kind of learn through a lot of adversity. So people has been kind of our biggest variable. To date, our people finding, thing has been all kind of, as Ben said, through the network, but there's also a little bit of kind of magic to it, where somebody or something will kind of strike us as a mission that's worthy for us to be on. And we like to basically say, we want to invest in this. We want to give a positive intent. And then we collectively do the work to either prove ourselves right or prove ourselves wrong. So we make the intent to invest. We tell people, this is a company we want to back. Sometimes it's something that happens within weeks. And sometimes it's like one company that we're launching and funding for small and medium farmers in Brazil. We've been incubating this company for 9 months now with the CEO, who's amazing, but we've really gotten to know the company before investing. So yeah, it's a very variable kind of process.
So is that normally how long it took you to kind of verify the company, or in other words, incubate, or just kind of a special case?
Yeah, this is a special case. So this company is the CEO basically is looking at bringing and channeling billions of dollars of capital through fintech to small and medium farmers in Brazil, in areas like soy and corn. So basically the food basket of a lot of the world, where farmers don't have access to good working capital. So we've had to do a lot of work on the financial structures and, kind of thinking through the model with the entire goal of creating a system to efficiently flow capital to the people who need it. So it's taken just a long time, and we've been very involved almost as like co-founders of the business, not just as investors. So that's a unique case. It's like not something that happens often. Usually it's like maybe like a month or two of getting to know the team, writing our internal investment memos, basically going through that process of either proving ourselves right in our original intent, which a lot of that is like gut and magic. Like there's something where somebody kind of strikes us as a person that really has a clearly defined mission or the right kind of sustainability in the potential business model. And we say, okay, we want to go after this, and we either prove ourselves right or wrong. And it takes us about a month or two, I would say, to make our decisions.
Got it. Do you have to because you have mostly UK and US portfolio, do you have to kind of just be with the company for a while? So is that because you guys is geographically very spread out, right? Do you have to go there and be with them for a while?
I don't know about being with them for a while. I mean, look at us right now. We're in a COVID situation. I was talking to one of our co-founders for a company, and I told her I haven't left my house since Sunday. I haven't even, outside to take out the trash and put it on the street, I haven't walked down my street. That's my new norm, but my day goes on. So right now we spend a lot of our time talking to our portfolio companies just on Zoom. Sometimes it will come from vetting a company would be coming through a friendly, as I said, through our network. And then we spend time with them, and then, we'll write a quick small check sometimes and then help them sort of ideate. The idea could just be an idea, and then we think it could be something magical, and we would seed them. So I'll give you an example. I think probably after meeting these guys, after one meeting, Avi and I drove down to Palo Alto. This was pre-COVID. We sat down with these guys for about, I don't know, probably 45 minutes. 45 minutes, and they are like, we're doing smart addressing. This is going to change the world. I have a mantra that it's never if it will work. Things are all about timing. It's when it will work, when things will work. So at that time, I told Avi, I said, hey, man, I don't know about these guys. I don't think it's right. And we wrote the check anyways. We wrote that check.
Well, I didn't get it. It's like smart what?
Smart addressing. I'll let Avi sort of break it down a little bit
better.
Yeah,
I mean, Ben likes to give this example. It's more of an example of how the dynamic of how we make our decisions.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll look at something that we feel should be in the world, and we feel like one of our responsibilities is to at least give it a shot. So this company has a massive challenge of trying to get their technology adopted. They essentially have created a smart kind of addressing system that goes beyond GPS. It's a programmable address that can take into account a lot of different coordinates, and it become like a live addressing system. So you, Dan, sitting in that apartment would have not only your physical location, but also a lot of other data actually imputed into the address so that someone could speak to you, or it could be used for logistics or last mile delivery, those kinds of things. But for a company like that, it's wonderful technologists that had an amazing background. The issue is always getting adoption and getting that one anchor customer that can kind of use the technology, adopt it broadly, make it a standard, and then from there that has a real chance. So on those companies like that, we know it's a long shot, but we work very closely with them anyway to try to help them get to market.
Yeah, that was just an example.
Yeah.
Got it. So you do fund companies that kind of have the moonshot goal.
Yeah, quite a few.
Easily. Easily.
No.
And then more importantly, we give them the most expensive thing that we have is our time. So we spend countless amounts of time incubating, ideating, talking them through, working with them on their presentations, on their financials, whatever it may be to get them to that next level. I think that's the most fun thing that I've got to do with GRIL and being a part of GRIL.
Yeah. So speaking of like the mission of your guys' fund, so a lot of people doing this, like Ben said, it's like 11 family, right? So it has more like a vision. How do you kind of balancing between the vision and the ROI?
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting thing. And a lot of people label themselves as impact investors. We don't label ourselves as impact investors. We say we're investors, and we just look at projects on whether they're solving a very large fundamental problem in the world, in a very large market where you can make a lot of money. Food as an example, fintech or financial services as an example, mental health or healthcare as an example. These are all very, very large markets. And we're just looking at entrepreneurs and projects and technologies that are doing things in a way that's creating a net positive and furthering dignity through like just its very business model. So everything that we do is about evaluating a business for potential to scale, to solve a really big need, a big problem in the world, in a very large market. And we get judged, our performance is 100% based on how much value we return to our investors. That comes first. And then all of the other stuff in terms of the positivity we can create, the energy we can create comes second. The one thing though is that we have kind of noticed that money and capital has the power to change a lot of things. So if we can create systems of value that we can channel capital into through business models where it still is moving capital, it's still making people a lot of money, you can attach a lot of the impactful kind of things that are advancing dignity to those models, to the investment that you're making, whether it's an equity investment, whether it's in a company that's doing things well, or debt investment. Exactly. So those are things that we are kind of sitting on and working with, now across the board in all of our activities. So it's not just about like saying that we're impact investors. We really do try to do things that will be able to move a lot of money.
I'll give you one example is Holberton Academy or Holberton School. It's a computer science program that basically doesn't charge you upfront for tuition. Instead, they have an income share agreement with you. and then they basically, you pay them once you get placed at a job. So that's, we invested at 26 students, like in their first campus.
Oh, so you're not investing in the company, you actually invest in the particular group of kids?
No, we invested in the company. They were on their first cohort.
Got it.
But at the end of the day, what we see as ROI, as per se, you say, like return, this is highly scalable. I mean, they have now 8 campuses across the world, 1,500 kids, almost 1,500 kids. And now we're looking at potentially taking out these schools all around the world. I mean, they have schools in Colombia. They just opened up in Uruguay. They have a campus in Beirut. And we're looking at now at the UAE and then also at South Africa. And we would take those opportunities and go and potentially franchise those and build, businesses on top. So when we talk about impact versus ROI, we thought this was absolutely massive impact because those 26 kids that came out of that first cohort were placed at top tech jobs with higher average salaries than kids graduating out of MIT. I mean, how nuts is that? And these guys are placed, they're trained into real world situations from a peer-to-peer computer.
Wow, that's great. So what's the company's name again?
It's called Holberton. Holborten. So, Jerry Yang's AME, Cloud Ventures came into them. Trinity Ventures came into them. Microsoft also invested behind them. These guys are now creating some of the world's tech talent. Like, you're not learning about computer programming. You're learning about what you're going to be doing on the job. And that's the main difference.
Yeah. So it's a real need and it's very massive. It's definitely something we think about a lot. We've been using the term dignity investing for now 3-4 years. And a lot of people, because there's a lot of energy out there for impact investing and putting metrics and things like that. And we don't do any of that, actually. We don't measure impact ROI in our equity investments that we make. We just invest in good people who are trying to solve very real fundamental problems in these different markets.
Yeah, I don't think that will go against each other. There are rare cases. For example, the vaccine is probably not going to be very feasible for big pharmaceutical company to develop after like 2 or 3 years, and then maybe the disease is gone, and then they spend like millions of dollars putting into this space, and then no one gonna buy it again. That's why we probably need like kind of donations or like kind of nonprofit or like government to help. But I think most of the cases and then impact and ROI could come together. Is that like how you guys see your fund sees this?
So in that case, yeah, the companies that are going to be solving the issue now with COVID, whether it's in therapeutics or vaccines, every company is going to have a massive impact that's operating in this space. We have one portfolio company that are doing all the digital test delivery management for result delivery management for Los Angeles County, LA City, now other counties in Southern California. They've now hit their millionth test result delivered. So they're solving a really big problem. They're cutting down the time that people have to wait with anxiety after getting their test sent to a lab. They get an empathetic response and they get actionable next steps. And they're doing it for governments, and they've solved and cracked that problem. And so that's a company that's a for-profit business that's doing something. They were previously doing this for the HIV population in the US. So they had a lot of experience delivering lab results. And that's a really, really under-discussed problem generally before COVID, was the fact that people couldn't get their lab results on time when at the peak anxiety, when they're waiting for their blood test results and they're potentially exposed to some sort of disease. And so Healthvana set up, a system to do that. And so when COVID hit, it became an opportunity for them to apply what they had already been doing, just like some of these other vaccine companies who had been doing AI, kind of development and stuff, and then they applied it here. So I feel like this, it definitely is for Healthvana, for example, they're doing really good work. It's highly scalable, and it solves a very real problem in terms of impact as well.
I saw you guys have like a very interesting portfolio in your fund too, like Squareroots, like Hyperloop One. Like, how do you get into those deals, like for high profile founders and high profile like kind of companies?
Yeah, so we've been fortunate to work with a lot of very good entrepreneurs, and our network is really what we rely on. So part of being actively investing in companies or supporting companies who are now operating on 6 continents is that we have quite a good network, whether it's private family offices or whether it's funds or whether it's kind of emerging VC funds, corporate network, So that's, something we've been able to really rely on a lot and add a lot of value to our companies that way. So Hyperloop was an example of a company that everyone just got really excited about the potential. So we came in through a co-investor partner that we've now invested in 3 deals with, who created an SPV. So we said, look, the great thing about our fund is we're not actually operating like a traditional fund. We get to invest in pretty much any structure that we want. So we were able to invest in an SPV and take advantage of the opportunity. And it's been really fun. I was there for the very first test that they did, their quote unquote Kitty Hawk moment, where they launched the first propulsion system in the desert in Las Vegas. And they had like all of the investors, a lot of like, sovereign funds and GE and everyone that was there who had invested. And that was one of our first investments we made out of Fund 2. So, we were fortunate to get access to deals like that. And there are quite a few where there are like lots of very high profile people on the cap table. And so that's, and Squareroots is one where we, as in the GRIL partners, had previously been working with the entrepreneur who founded Squareroots and the founding team. So both there's two people, Kimball Musk and Tobias Peggs. And so we had been working with them previously. And then one of our shareholders in GRIL had known Kimball for a very long time. And so he invested, we invested, and we've been involved in that company since it was a presentation. So, that's been a very exciting one, and we followed on, and we have, hopefully some interesting collaboration that we can do coming up with them. We've been very fortunate in our position as a small fund, and just the private, we haven't been publicly facing to get access to a lot of really good companies. Not all of those good companies are very high profile from the very start. Some of them come out of nowhere, and then they're looked at and they say, oh wow, this is something very new, it's very unique, it's doing something highly disruptive. And at that point everybody wants to get in, and we've been involved for multiple rounds, just slogging away. So it's been really fortunate. Ben, do you have anything on those? Or
No, I want to say that's essentially what it was. It comes back down to I've always prided myself on, at least when I have talks with Avi, it's about people do business, and we're just so fortunate that our network has allowed us the ability to actually invest in some of these deals that we probably at our size would probably not be investing in, but we were allowed the ability to, and and then all the previous work that was put in, whether it was our founders or some of our LPs knowing who Kimball or some of our previous venture partners that worked with Tobias and whatnot. That's just sort of how it came about. And then, as Avi said, we wrote a check on presentation. We've sat with the CEO and like sort of gone over strategy and really helped sort of think things through, give our input. And that's just sort of how we build our relationship and our network with our founders. I think that's where our main difference is. We're small, so we get to do that. We're not write a check and then go away type investors. We're write a check and very hands-on investors in that sense.
Yeah.
I see that you guys, from like kind of the first angel check all the way, you can fall on to like Series B. So do you guys make decision differently, or do you have different strategies for those size of investments?
Yeah, I think that the early stage is really people-based. It's like, do we believe that this team, because again, for us, everything's about like, are they attacking a very large problem? Do they have a pathway to getting to a sustainable anchor in the market that they're trying to get to? Like, what's their clear pathway to that? Our third partner, Colin, who's the co-founder of GRIL and third managing partner, he created a business that went to 13 countries from South Africa. They employed 10,000 people. It was a private Coca-Cola bottler company. He built up as the group CFO out of South Africa. And he has this thing that he always says is take a best practice and then figure out how to scale it. So create like the anchor, create a model that works. So we look at the team and we look at like, do they have a pathway to getting there? And then a lot of times it's just like, I believe this person will fight through all the, the complexity of getting a company from the seed stage to a Series A and proof of concept and proof of business model and some good solid traction or profitability. Like those are all things that come, but it takes a long time and it takes a lot of creativity and passion, dedication. So a lot of it is people-based. When we invest later, it's really just the network. Like, did someone bring us this deal? Are we very excited about this deal? Usually it will come, we have one company that has created a new thing called B-Code, which is a text-based code system that works for payments and coupons and loyalty, but works with 100% of all phones, and it's fully secure. So it's like moving past QR code and reaching kind of the next 3 billion people. And so we invested fairly late in that company, like kind of Series B timeframe, and we invested a larger amount, but it came through a family office that we do a lot of co-investing with in South Africa that, you know, that was kind of on the board of the company and things like that. So yeah, that's kind of how we evaluate at different stages. It's harder for us to really feel like our value proposition, which is getting to know the founder, getting to know the team, being involved in the business creation. If that doesn't really come about if you're coming in at like a Series B versus like we really get a chance to be hands-on earlier.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us. It's been a pleasure.
今天的节目就到这里。这期节目除了主播和嘉宾，也感谢我们团队的迪卡布里鑫和 Luke， 他们在最短的时间内完成了节目后期制作。还感谢小爱，他是每次将音频上传到各个平台的人，他同时也是生小英这个账号背后的小伙伴。同时也感谢子珊和 Amanda， 是他们每次将音频整理成了文字，并发布在我们的微信公众账号上。如果大家想要长期关注我们，也可以订阅我们的微信公众号，搜索生动活泼这4个字就可以找到我们。也请您支持我们，例如在您所喜爱的音频平台上点赞打分，或者通过打赏的方式支持我们。打赏方式在我们的微信公众账号上以及网站声 FM.cn SHENGFM.cn 上都能找到。当然也可以转发给您1-2位朋友们，让他们也听到这档节目。也请大家继续关注我们之后的报道。那我们下次节目再见。